We're almost done with the basics about TypeScript and the core types. There are two more types which are good to be aware of because they will matter from time to time. And the first type is the unknown type. For that, I'll name this file here functions.ts and add a new app.ts file. And in there, let's say we have a new variable, user input, and this is of type unknown. It's not of type any, which would be the default, but unknown, which is a different type introduced by TypeScript. It might be unknown because we don't know yet what the user will eventually enter. If it's a number, if it's a string, we don't know. Now, the interesting thing about the unknown type is we can store any value in there without getting errors. So this is all allowed. If I now compile my file here, you see I get no compilation error. So thus far, it's the same as if we wouldn't have assigned a type here, and hence we have the any type, or if we would have explicitly set any as a type. But still, unknown is different to any. This here works, but we'll run into issues if I have another variable, let's say username, which should be a string, and that's uninitialized here, but then here I want to set username equal to user input. Now you see we're getting an error. The type unknown is not assignable to type string. So username wants a string, and of course unknown is not guaranteed to be a string. Here I assigned one, but that's just the case in this line. User input technically could hold any value because it's unknown. Now the interesting thing is if I switch unknown to any, this error goes away because any is the most flexible type in TypeScript and it basically disables all type checking, and TypeScript just says, I give up, do whatever you want. Unknown is a bit more restrictive than any. With unknown, we have to first of all check the type that's currently stored in user input before we can assign it to, for example, a variable that wants a string. So since a string is wanted here, we could check if type of user input is equal to string, and TypeScript will detect this check and understand that in here, what I store in username, because it's inside of this if statement where I check for a user input being of type string, user input is guaranteed to be a string, and therefore I can safely assign it to username. So I need such an extra type check here with unknown to be able to assign an unknown value to a value with a fixed type. And therefore unknown is the better choice over any. If you know, I can't tell exactly what type I'll store in there. It might be a number, it might be a string, but I know what I want to do with it eventually. Well, just add an extra check to make sure that what you want to do can be done, so that if you want to work with a string, you have a string and you're good. And then unknown is better than any because it makes sure that you're not allowed to do everything, but you have at least some type checking. Of course, if you have a chance of knowing in advance that user input is always a string or a number, well then you should use string or such a union type instead of unknown. So unknown still is a type you shouldn't use all the time, but it is better than any for the reasons described.